Dallas, I have news for you. The bad man is gone. One of them, at least. Y'all still got Jerry Jones. We're going to get into our power rankings. And Corby, since I started it off last week, I think I'm going to let you do the honors today.
So I'll go ahead and start it off. At number 10, I have a team that did not perform too well last week. I'm going the Chicago Bulls. They were 1-3 last week, 2 home games, 2 away. They beat the 76ers barely by 2, lost to the Bucks, lost to the Cavs by 6, and then lost to the Spurs last night by 4 without Josh Giddey, which I actually thought was a pretty impressive kind of fight from the Chicago Bulls, especially with De'Aaron Fox being back. But yeah, overall, so far this season, they've played more home games than road games. But even with that being said, they've had the hardest schedule in the league. So even though they're only 6-4, there's a reason I have to put them this high at 10. It's because they haven't had a single game off pretty much. Last week, Giddey was amazing. The 3 games he played, he averaged 20, 10, and 10. Vucevic, on the other hand, was one of the reasons they did so bad. He averaged only 14 points per game on 50% true shooting. Just awful. And net rating-wise, they probably don't deserve to be in this top 10, but because of their schedule, I'm giving it to them. They have had the 17th ranked offense this season, 18th ranked defense, and 18th overall ranked net rating this season. So not very good. At number 9, I had the Cleveland Cavaliers. They were not on my list last week, but they are sneaking in after going 3-1. Beat the 76ers without Embiid, but still a good win. Beat the Wizards by 34. Beat the Bulls by 6. And then just last night in overtime, they lost in a thriller to the Miami Heat without Bam Adebayo. So 3-1, it's a pretty good stretch. Overall, Mitchell last week averaged 32 points per game. Hunter averaged 20. Merrill shot 44% from 3 on 8 threes a game, which is pretty amazing. Shout out Utah State. And overall, Cleveland, they've been a little disappointing being at 9 versus being a top 2 team last season. They are only 8th overall in offense, 12th in defense, 9th in net rating in the NBA, but they have had the 8th hardest schedule, so you hope that they can do better from now on. At number 8, I also didn't have this team ranked last week. I have the San Antonio Spurs. They went 3-1, finally playing some impressive teams for once, even though there were some caveats. They lost to the Lakers by 2 without LeBron James or Austin Reeves. I'm not counting LeBron. LeBron hasn't played any game, but losing to the Lakers without Austin Reeves kind of hurts. They beat the Rockets by 11, huge win. They beat the Pelicans by 7 without Zion, and then last night, they beat the Bulls by 4 without Josh Giddey, which I thought they should have won by way more if they're a legit team, but still at 8, pretty good. They've had a mediocre schedule overall, only 5th in defense, which if you think that if the Spurs are 8-2, or whatever the record is, you'd think they'd have the best defense or second best defense. No, it's only 5th. So we'll see, because most defensive player of the years, Wemby's kind of running away with it. Most deep boys lead a top 3 defense, so we'll see how that goes. At number 7, I had the Miami Heat, and no one expected them to be this high 3 weeks in, but here we are. They have had a very tough schedule, being the 6th hardest in the league. They went 3-1 last week. They lost to the Nuggets by 10, who are a really good team. And you were telling me that they haven't beat the Nuggets in 4 years. So that's interesting. They beat the Hornets by 18 without LaMelo. They beat the Blazers, who have been good. And they just last night beat the Cavs by 2 without Bam Adebayo. Or 3 of these games were without Bam Adebayo, I believe. Or maybe 2 of them. Overall, this is a huge team effort. Norman Powell averaged 26 points per game. Wiggins, 21 points per game. Jaime, 19 points per game. Kel'el Ware, 12 rebounds a game. Davion, 8 assists. All of that was in the last week. I mean, they really are just putting up. It's Eric Spoelstra. He's putting on a clinic right now. So they've been amazing. At number 6, they don't move at all after going 3-0 last week. In my rankings specifically, I have the Denver Nuggets. They had 3 home games. They played the Miami Heat with only 8 minutes of Bam. They beat the Warriors by 25 without Steph, and then they beat the Pacers without anyone playing. So really 3 wins that you have to get, but they weren't very impressive to me. Overall, they played a lot more home games than away games. They've had a easier than average schedule, with it being ranked 20th hardest. But overall, they've still been amazing. Jokic last week averaged 30 points per game, 13 rebounds a game, and 13 assists a game on 82% true shooting. Just ridiculous historic numbers. Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, and Tim Hardaway Jr. were all at least 40% from 3. So offensive-wise, I mean, they are really helping Jokic out that way. They are the only team in the NBA with both top 5 offense and top 5 defense. They've been amazing. I need to see them get more impressive wins. There's only a couple teams I can give the benefit of the doubt to. So far, it's not the Nuggets, but they've been amazing. At number 5, I did not have this team last week, but I have to give them their due props, the Houston Rockets. Last week, they went 2-1, all away games. They beat the Grizzlies by 15. They lost to the Spurs, who have been very good this season, by 11. And then they beat the Bucks by 7. All healthy teams. So far in this schedule, they've played double the away games than home games, being 6 away games and 3 home games. And having this kind of record is pretty amazing. Last week, Reed Shepherd just went off 15 points per game on 80% true shooting. He is finally showing why he should have been the 3rd overall pick, why he put up such good stats at Kentucky efficiency-wise, because he just kind of did it this last week after kind of looking like a bust, not only last year, but the first couple weeks of this season. Overall, somehow, through 3 weeks, they are still the best offense in the NBA, and that is even with last week averaging 18 turnovers a game, which is a ridiculous amount, an amount that only tanking teams should really be hitting. Overall, Amen Thompson shot like 37% from 3 in the last week, so that was good. They've had the 7th hardest schedule, and they are first. I still can't believe this. They are first in 3-point percentage as a team. The Houston Rockets. Like, wow. Even without Fred. At number 4, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. They went 2-1 last week. 2 away games. They beat the Spurs by 2, which was an impressive win. They lost to the Atlanta Hawks without like any good Atlanta Hawk playing. I mean, I'm talking about Porzingis, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jalen Johnson, Luke Kennard. Like, it was pretty much without the Hawks' entire rotation. Obviously, Trae Young, and they still somehow lost by 20. At one point, they were down 30. And then they beat the Hornets last night by 10. Or 2 nights ago, maybe. No, I think it was last night. By 10 without LaMelo. So overall, what's really interesting about their record is they are 3-2 at home and 5-1 on the road. So they've been playing way better on the road. But yeah, they have played more road games than home games. They've had the fifth toughest schedule. They've had the 9th best offense overall, 23rd in defense, which is not great. But yeah, overall last week, a bunch of Lakers played amazing. Luka averaged 32, 10, and 7. Ayton averaged 16 and 7 on 78% true shooting. And then Roy Hachimura averaged 15 points per game, 2 rebounds, and 0.3 assists, which I think is just, that's a pure bucket. That's a pure bucket stat line. 67% true shooting. At number 3, you can't deny it anymore, even though it was an easy schedule. I have the Detroit Pistons. They went 4-0 last week. A bunch of easy games. They beat the Jazz. They beat the Nets. They beat the 76ers without Embiid, which is still not the easiest game in the world, but it's, it's without Embiid and Paul George and them. And then they beat the Wizards last night by 2 in overtime, which is just amazing that it came down to that. But honestly, and I don't like crediting teams for being hurt and winning, because at the end of the day, it depends on, if you're hurt, that's kind of on you. But yeah, the Pistons were without like their top 7 players besides Cade, and they still somehow pulled off the win with Cade Cunningham putting up the most misses in a game ever. But hey, if it's only bums playing with you, you got to empty the clip. That's something I respect. Last week, Cade Cunningham averaged 34 points per game, 11 assists, and then Duran last week averaged 23 and 16. He's been showing that he has potential to be an all-star even this season, as soon as this season. Darius Jenkins had a 24-point game last night versus the Wizards and a game-tying 3 where a bunch of players just fell on the ground. So shout out him. Pistons, 4th best defense, 6th best overall. Their schedule has been super easy. That's why they can't be like 1 or 2, even though their record is 9-2. They've had the 26th hardest schedule. So that's like what, the 5th or 4th easiest schedule. But overall, 4th in defense, 3rd in steals, 2nd in blocks. They are legit. At number 2, it might be a bit high, but I have the New York Knicks. I understand their record isn't as good as the Spurs, as the Pistons, as the Lakers. But for what I've seen, and they haven't had necessarily the hardest schedule. They've had the 10th hardest schedule. But yeah, they went 2-0 last week. They beat the Wolves by 23. They beat the Nets by 36. Do I care that much that they blew out these teams versus barely won? Not really, but I'm just giving the Knicks the benefit of the doubt of this is the best team in the Eastern Conference. Even if the record doesn't show it. They've just overall had this huge team effort of camaraderie. I mean, OG Anunoby last week, it wasn't Brunson, it wasn't Cat, it was OG Anunoby who led their week in scoring at 22 points per game. Mikal Bridges has been amazing, 10-1 assist turnover ratio. They are 4th in the NBA in net rating, so when they are winning, I mean, you could tell by these last 2 games, they are really winning. And overall, I think the offense has been amazing. The defense will always struggle, just like it kind of did last year, even though they got Mikal and OG. I think they're the 2nd best team in the NBA. And at number 1, even though they have had by far the easiest schedule in the NBA, you got to go the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have over a 90% winning percentage. They went 3-1, getting their first loss just last week. It was all 4 away games. They beat the Clippers by 20 without Kawhi. They lost to the Blazers, OKC was on the back-to-back, so they didn't have many people playing. They beat the Kings by 30 without Sabonis, and then they beat the Grizzlies by 15. Overall, they have played way more away games than home games, being 4-7. But yeah, Shea has clearly looked like the MVP so far, in my opinion, averaging 32.5 points per game last week on 66% true shooting, 6-1 assist turnover ratio. And Shea has reached 30 points in every single game but one this season. So out of the 11 games, he has reached 30 points in 10 games. I mean, that is just the epitome of efficiency. Aaron Wiggins averaged 19.5 points. So I think he had 38 points in 2 games last week. Isaiah Hartenstein averaged 18 and 13 on 78% true shooting. It doesn't matter who's down. Dort, Caruso, Chet, J-Dub. It doesn't matter who's out. The next guy is going to step up at OKC. Like, I never even thought Isaiah Hartenstein could even play at this level. I always thought he was just a guy who his impact on winning doesn't even show in the box score, and it clearly has. he could do that, and it'll show in the box score as well. Overall, their net rating is 13.2, which is second in NBA history. Last year, theirs was, I think it was like 12.8 or something like that, which was fourth in NBA history. So they've been so far even better than last year. So that's all mine. The teams that barely missed out, I might have went on for a little long, but I was excited for this one. The teams that barely missed out for me were the Milwaukee Bucks. I had them around like 5 or 7 or something, and they're not even on the list anymore. I thought the Raptors are close, the Blazers are close, the Warriors, the Sixers, the Celtics, but they couldn't make it.
Yeah, no, I do like your list a lot. Honestly, I feel like there's a lot of similarities in our lists, which might explain why I like it. We'll get into it. I do think you have the Knicks a little high. I think there's some other teams that have at least shown you this year what they're capable of doing, and the Knicks have looked fine, but I'm just not seeing the team that you're seeing. So difference of perspective. Before I start my list, I want to give an honorable mention to a couple teams. One, my Warriors. I would have them in the top 10, I believe, if Steph had played these last couple of games, but unfortunately he's been out with an illness for the last 3 games. Didn't get to see him play when I went to San Francisco, but I did get to see a Warriors win, which is always nice. But I think I'd have them on the top 10, but given the way they performed, doesn't matter if they have Steph or not. They're just not playing like a top 10 team right now. Another shout out to the Bucks. I think the Bucks have been really good so far this year, especially given the expectations that people had for them. I think they've lacked a little bit of consistency from their bench unit, and that is going to be a problem moving forward, especially with Taurean Prince being out several months with a herniated disc in his neck. Look for the Bucks to make some moves to bolster that roster, hopefully. But just to point out some guys, Bobby Portis, I have not been impressed by this year, and this was an opportunity for him to get a bigger role. But guys like AJ Green, Ryan Rollins have been stepping up, so hopefully they continue to do that, and they can find a little bit more support for Giannis, who is playing like the MVP right now. So starting off my list at number 10, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe you had them at 9. My reasoning for that is just that even with getting Garland back, I know it's early. He probably starts to get into the flow of things. They haven't looked quite as good as you would hope they would have, being that they won 64 games last year. And overall, Donovan's looked good, Mobley's looked good, but I have lacked. They've lacked that punch from the second unit that they had last year. That was such a big deal for them when they had Ty Jerome, and their guys off the bench have not been able to replicate that yet. Jalen Tyson has been a good addition to the lineup. DeAndre Hunter is obviously good, if you can even consider him a rotational / bench player, because he is in the starting lineup now. So I think the Cavs still are just as good in their first 5 guys as they have been, but my concern is definitely with that bench unit, especially as attrition sets in and the season goes along. And a similar concern actually is what I have for the Knicks, but I'll get to that in a minute. At number 9, I have the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are a weird case. I did not have them ranked last week. Also, for the Cavs, I dropped them 2 spots from where I had them last week. The Timberwolves, I didn't have them ranked. Julius Randle has been absolutely amazing, though, to start the year. I have to give him all of the due credit for playing how he's played while Ant has been out. And in their last games, they have played extremely well, and Ant has played very well coming off of that injury. However, their last games, they played 4 of them in the last week since we recorded, and their 3 wins were 2 wins against the Jazz and 1 win against the Kings, and their 1 loss was a blowout to the Knicks. And that's why I just don't feel compelled to rank them higher, because their last week they looked good. They looked, for the most part, like the team we expect them to, but they're still lacking that quality win that would put them over the top. But given how Julius Randle has played, given how Ant's played since he's been back, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. At number 8, I have the New York Knicks. Similar concerns with the Cavs, where their bench unit has not looked as impressive as I thought it would going into this season because they did a lot of work to bolster it in the offseason. Josh Hart has taken a definite step back in his play since last year, which I know last year was a high point for him, but he has not looked like the same player, and that's a big deal for the Knicks. He's a big part of their everything there, their defense, their rebounding, their distribution. Offensively, he's probably not even like a top 3 contributor, but he's definitely a big part of everything else they do. And if he can't be on the floor, that definitely changes the dynamic of what they can do. Overall, I think the Knicks will be fine. I still think they'll finish top 3 in the East. But as of now, I feel like other teams have played more impressively this season, and they deserve their due credit for that. At number 7, on exactly that same point, give me the Miami Heat. I think we have them in the exact same spot. The Miami Heat have been incredible to start this season, and it really struck me when I was watching them play the Cleveland Cavaliers last night that this team does not look like a flash in the pan, because it's not just that Jaime Jaquez is going off every night and scoring a ridiculous amount of points on ridiculous efficiency. It's not that Wiggins has all of a sudden reverted back to his Minnesota days or his Golden State championship run form where he was absolutely incredible. It's not that Bam has become this 25 point per game scorer. Truly, what makes the Miami Heat such a good team, and we say it over and over again, it's super cliche, it is the Heat culture. It makes them so hard to contend with because they play as one unit. Eric Spoelstra, like you said, absolute coaching masterclass so far this year. But bigger than that, even when you look at the personnel, there are no holes on defense. They don't have any guys that you can attack specifically on defense. Maybe you want to go at Jaime Jaquez if you are a quick guard, but he holds his own too. He moves his feet well, and he's strong. Davion Mitchell is obviously a great point of attack defender. Bam is obviously a great 4/5 interior defender, as well as can step out and defend a wing on the perimeter. They have no holes on defense, and that's huge. That's something we saw from the Pacers last year where, no, maybe they're not the best defense in the world. Maybe they don't have all these great individual defenders, even though the Miami Heat do have better individual defenders than that Pacers team had. That Pacers team didn't have holes on defense. When they played as one unit, they were really hard to beat, and I feel the same way about this Heat team. At number 6, I have the Houston Rockets. I'm a little surprised that you're higher on them this week than I am, albeit one spot. Houston is one of the teams I have going to the finals this year. I have them representing the West. They, so far this year, have just kind of been good, not great. And this week did nothing to really change my opinion on them. I did have them at 2, which I think was a little high last week, and now I've dropped them down to 6, so that's 4 spots. They beat the Bucks, they beat the Grizzlies, lost to the Spurs. It was a solid week. It wasn't a great week. There were other teams that had better weeks and have had better seasons so far, and I want to give those teams benefit of the doubt. Especially going to this next team, number 5, the Denver Nuggets were a team that I have not really given credit to this year. I did not even have them ranked in this past ranking, and that was a definite mistake, and I will admit that, because the Nuggets have looked really good to start the year, especially Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is looking as good as we've ever seen him, which is an incredible thing to say. Now, I know we're saying Shea looks like the MVP, Giannis looks like the MVP. Right now, you look at his numbers, it's probably Jokic. He's having a better season than he had last year, which is insane to say, even though we're only 10 games in. But the Nuggets have looked really good. They have the second best net rating, but their competition is weak. They've played like the second best team in the NBA, but so far I have yet to see them get that quality win. And they're kind of in the same boat as the Timberwolves, except the Nuggets have played better to this point, so I'll give them that benefit. But I want to see a quality win out of the Nuggets. If I do, I could easily see them being top 3 in my rankings next week. Number 4.
Wait, real quick. I just want to interrupt you because I'm going to forget this.
Yeah.
Third best net rating so far in NBA history is the Nuggets.
Wow.
Which obviously it's only through 11 games or 10 games, whatever. But yeah, third best in NBA history.
Pretty incredible. I mean, if we got it, I would not be mad at a collision course between Denver and OKC in the conference finals. But at number 4, I have the San Antonio Spurs. I think they have looked really good to start the year. I think they've beat some tough competition. And I think you have to sometimes look at who the dogs are on that team and give the benefit of the doubt to them. And I keep saying benefit. I'm on my benefit shit today. I don't know what's going on. I'm not using it for the rest of the podcast. Okay, I'm cutting it off. I've reached my word limit. But Victor Wembanyama is that guy, and he is not just a hyper talented individual with potential that shoots through the ceiling like we've seen in previous years. No, this guy has realized his potential, and it is a scary thing for the league. He is simultaneously both the best offensive and defensive player on the court at any given time, which is not something you can say for a lot of guys in NBA history, right? but he's the best defender in the league. And honestly, when it comes to offense, he is bordering that top 5 level where it's like, how do you stop this guy? With his efficiency, his handle, his ability to get to his spots, which he is doing now, it is pretty incredible. He had a couple off games, which was maybe a little concerning for a second, but he's an incredible basketball talent. And when you look at how guys like Stephon Castle are performing, they just got De'Aaron Fox back. Luke Cornett is hurt, but he's been a great backup center. This team looks like they're for real, and I think they are. At number 3, same spot you have them, I have the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons are the other finals team that I had this season. You guys can go back and check our video if you think I'm bullshitting. But
no, he really did. Yeah.
But yeah, I had the Pistons and I had the Rockets. I want to see that Thompson twin matchup in the finals. I want to see 7 fights a game. I want it. But the Pistons are my number 3 team in the power rankings because they had an incredible week. They were the only team to go 4-0 over this last week. And yes, their level of competition was not great, but again, Cade Cunningham is a dog, and Isaiah Stewart has been a great big man off the bench, and Jalen Duren has taken a 4th-year jump that has been incredible to look at. Not only is he averaging 19 and 12 with a block and a steal per game, he's also shooting 81% from the free throw line. And in thinking about that, how do you stop a guy who's dominant at the rim who can also shoot free throws? You can't. It's really hard to do. And you talk about them getting Jaden Ivey back. That's only going to bolster their offense, which has already looked good to start the year. They have one of the better defenses in the NBA. And I think even if they are not going to maintain this level of regular season success for the whole year, this is showing people that the Pistons are a dangerous team and to look out for them come April. Number 2, though, and obviously we know who my number 1 is going to be, but number 2 is the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers, without LeBron James, without Austin Reeves, without Luka Doncic, both at times, are finding ways to win. They are simply, without excuse, winning games. And Luka Doncic has looked absolutely incredible. I feel like I'm going to say this about like 5 or 6 different guys. He looks like an MVP. There's so many guys that have looked like an MVP to start this season, but Luka Doncic is definitely in that category. And you know what? Fuck it. So is Austin Reeves. That guy has been playing absolutely incredible to start the year. And when you talk about Ayton now starting to find his rhythm and his stride, Roy starting to find his rhythm and his stride, and you got 25 points from Nick Smith Jr. the other night when Luka and Austin Reeves were both out. Jacob LaRavia has looked like a great rotational piece for the Lakers. And they don't even have LeBron. They are this good at this point in the season. And you can say the Spurs lost to the Lakers without Austin Reeves, and you can use that against them. I'm going to use that for the benefit of the Lakers because I think the Spurs have looked really good this year, and the Lakers beat them without Austin Reeves. So, I mean, when you talk about if they can contend with the best teams in the West, I definitely think they can. Right now, they look like if they had LeBron, they might be the best team in the league. But we haven't seen what LeBron looks like in that offense yet. We haven't seen if Austin Reeves and Luka are going to maintain their level of play. We haven't seen if DeAndre Ayton's going to be consistent or if this is a flash in the pan. We'll see. The Lakers look really good right now, though. So I've got them at number 2. And at number 1, I've got the Thunder. Every reason you stated. They're the best team in the NBA right now. Sure, their competition has not been very strong. They have the weakest strength of schedule out of any team, but they're beating the teams that are in front of them until they lose to them. I mean, they lost to the Blazers by 2. That's their only loss this season, and the Blazers have been a very solid team. I can't say anything against the Thunder. They don't even have their second best player yet, and they have the best net rating in NBA history. So it's definitely getting scary with the Thunder.
Second.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I got.
Just to correct you second, because the number 1 net rating is the 96 Chicago Bulls, which we'll see if it ever gets beat. Because by the way, yeah, the Thunder are 10-1, so this pace is for them to lose 7 or 8 games.
Yeah,
and that's probably not going to happen. I could be wrong.
that's crazy. The Bulls were that good.
They were that good, and they weren't like. Well, it's because they never took their foot off the gas, you know?
No.
I really think if the Thunder were a team that never took their foot off the gas because they're saving it for the playoffs, which is something that honestly has only been around in the NBA for like the last 20 years, maybe they would be just as good as the Bulls, but we'll never know because it's not smart. Like the playoffs matter so much more than some regular season record, to be honest. But I didn't hit your list though. I do just want to say about the Timberwolves, I haven't been impressed with the Timberwolves. I mean, it's not that they've like disappointed me or anything. No, that's not the case at all. But they have had such an easy schedule that like I'm not like if you look down at their schedule, they probably had like 4 or 5 games already where it's like if you don't win this game, will you even make the playoffs? Like those kind of games.
Now that's fair, but this is a team that made the conference finals last year and has been missing their best player for about half of these games.
I will say, yeah, Jaden McDaniels really stepped up when Ant was out. Kind of made me think that, maybe Jaden McDaniels is being held back offensively because he's playing with guys like Randall and Ant, and like it's just too much. And before it was Cat and Ant. But then again, is it worth losing Ant to see if Jaden McDaniels can discover that? No, it's not. So
Jaden McDaniels is a great piece for the Timberwolves, but he's not your superstar. No, I don't have a ton to say about your list either. I feel like we actually got way more into it when we were talking about it, and we have fairly similar lists when it comes right down to it.
we have pretty similar ones. I will say sometimes basketball kind of makes me think that 2 + 2 isn't 4. That's kind of the way I think about this LeBron Lakers thing. Like, I don't know how much better the Lakers will get, if at all, with LeBron. And I've seen people say that LeBron's going to make the Lakers and Luka worse. I won't say that. But what I will say is at his age, how much defensively is he giving to this Lakers team? Because so far they have been 23rd in defense.
So I get that, right? But when you talk about guys that you can plug into any lineup and they're going to be a net positive throughout NBA history, and those are the best players, you talk about guys like a Nikola Jokic, you talk about guys like a Steph Curry, you talk about guys like Kevin Durant, and then you got your guys that are so good that it doesn't matter their play style, they're going to be good on any team. Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal. LeBron James is the epitome of that guy. I mean, he can do so many things on the basketball court that aren't scoring the ball, that won't take away from other people, and he can score really efficiently. Now you talk about defense. Maybe that's a concern at his age. But I think that he still can hold his own defensively. And I think that when it comes right down to it, whose minutes is he going to be taking? It's going to be like, they may not even drop the minutes of the other guys. He may just take like some minutes from the guys at the end of the bench.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's probably going to help him. But just hopefully they don't change their play style with LeBron. Like, Maybe it's better if LeBron only averages like 17, 18 points per game or even less, because the way that Luka Doncic plays basketball, I mean, it's bringing out the best right now in Rui Hachimura. His shooting has been absolutely amazing. And I'm just trying to think like Luka does play best in that Dallas Mavericks-esque offense where you have a bunch of shooters, you have a roll man. And I guess that can be because how much you actually want to trust Ayton? Not too much. Maybe LeBron is now that roll man. Maybe LeBron has to play center for them to actually take that jump.
Maybe. I mean, we'll just have to see.
Does LeBron want to do that at age 42 or whatever
it'll be an interesting dynamic to see what happens. Always a lot going on in the City of Stars. And it certainly is right now.
Yeah, we didn't have too much. I mean, we had Lakers 2 apart, Rockets 1 apart, Nuggets 1 apart, Heat the same.
I don't really need to I think we kind of expressed how we feel. We feel similarly. I think the Knicks are our biggest gap, and that's just a matter of what you see versus what I see.
Yeah, because I see the best, maybe not the best, but like definitely like top 3 starting lineup in the league. And you can question their bench, but I feel like they have a bunch of guys who, when it matters, they will be able to fill in. I mean, Miles McBride is like the 6th man that doesn't apply to that. Like, I think Miles McBride's always going to be good defensively, offensively, whatever. And then they have a bunch of Jordan Clarkson, Yabusele. They have Mitchell Robinson.
No, I totally
and by the way,
get
Josh Hart. Okay, you want to talk about Josh Hart? That's fine. He has been not good this season. But he did average 14.5 points per game in this last week. Now, it was only a 2-game sample size, but I will say he was dealing with an injury to start the season. So I wouldn't be too concerned with Josh Hart. I think eventually he's going to find it back, even if it's hopefully not the jump shot, at least his driving game. And we know how good he is playmaking-wise, rebounding-wise, all
we'll
defensively.
See, because that's my biggest concern is the playmaking. They don't have a backup point guard. That's who Malcolm Brogdon was supposed to be, and they still have not found one. So Josh Hart kind of has to be that backup point guard for them. And if he can't, then it's not good for the Knicks. But it is kind of crazy to say they go as Josh Hart goes when you have guys like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns on your team. But those guys, in terms of their offense, it's almost a given, right? What they're going to give you on a night-to-night basis. Maybe a little less with Cat. But when it comes to Hart, he really is an engine for them and allows that second unit to play on a whole nother level when he's playing well. So We'll see what happens. I don't have too much more to say. Do you have anything more to say?
No, besides, I mean, I had the Spurs at 8. Most likely within the next couple of weeks they will go up because they now have De'Aaron Fox, but I don't think they were as good without Fox. By the way, Fox has played amazing. He's averaged, I think it was like 23 points per game in the last two games he's played.
22, 60% shooting. Not many assists, but
No, it was like 4 assists a game, but
he's only played 2 games too, so they might just be figuring out the playmaking responsibilities when it comes to him and Castle.
yeah, I liked how they've looked so far though. So.
I have too. All right.